Siya Kolisi is returning to South Africa from Wrestling 92 to the Sharks. Now, I think there's a couple of things that have gone into this decision, which we're going to dive into, and sort of what the future looks like for Siya Kolisi, a Springbok captain, now playing his rugby in South Africa for the Sharks. If you haven't, please absolutely murder that subscribe button. As you know, we're trying to interview Siya Kolisi and Rassie Erasmus, and it's very close. It is very, very close. Hit that subscribe button. Still about 83% of you that watch this channel on a regular basis are not subscribed, so it helps us to grow the channel, helps us to reach more rugby lovers like yourself. Leave your opinions down in the comments, leave this video a like, and let's get into it. So after the 2023 Rugby World Cup, which obviously the Springboks ended up winning, Siya Kolisi then took up a contract for Racing 92 in France. Now, there were a lot of things said about this. Should the South African captain be playing his rugby outside of South Africa? Should he be playing it inside South Africa? But I think for Siya, winning 2 Rugby World Cups, he was at the pinnacle of his career back in 2023. And I think the move was very focused around the financial aspect of it, right? He'd earned his flowers. He'd put his time in for South Africa and in South African clubs. And then I think they saw this as sort of an opportunity to go over to Racing 92 for a season, 2 or 3 seasons, make some good money, and hopefully still be able to play for South Africa. Now, he's done that for a season, and let's be honest and frank, we don't think he played too well for Racing 92, so much so that the owner of Racing 92 had some choice words about Siya Kolisi in one of their final matches. I think it was against Bordeaux. So obviously, the South African captain who's now playing for Racing 92 being called transparent, being called fat, is not going to bode well for the player wanting to stick around. There was also the aspect of Rassie Erasmus coming out and saying that he prefers his South African captain to be based in South Africa, which makes a lot of sense. He'll play with a lot of the players that are already playing in the Springbok side. He's closer to Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff, so they can get together on a more frequent basis. And this wasn't going to happen if Siya was staying at Racing 92. So there was that big discussion of who's going to be South African captain going into this back end of the year when we played against Ireland and Portugal and into the Rugby Championship. And Rassie Erasmus stayed with Siya Kolisi. There was chat that maybe Irben will be captain, Bongi, Peter Steph du Toit. We've seen Salman Marat started to come through and sort of captain the smaller games for the Springboks. Then we fast forward a couple of months, and Siya Kolisi is the captain, and he captains against Ireland and into the Rugby Championship, and he's done a phenomenal job in captaining South Africa. But there still was this question mark of, is Siya Kolisi going to come back to South Africa? Is Rassie Erasmus going to continue the captaincy with Siya Kolisi if he has to go back to Racing 92? Well, now we've got the news that Siya has officially moved from Racing 92 to the Sharks. He will be playing for the Sharks this season in the URC in the Champions Cup, which is absolutely massive for the Sharks, but also for South African rugby. It's so important that the captain of the Springboks is based within South Africa. Siya's going to be bringing so many more people into the stadium for the Champions Cup games, for the URC games. And if you think about now for the Currie Cup, it's the Bulls versus the Natal Sharks in the semi-final. If there wasn't Springbok rugby going on, then Siya would be playing in a Currie Cup semi-final, even potentially a final. So it's absolutely massive for the country. And then we kind of got this update of sort of how Siya Kolisi got out of this contract. He still had 2 years at Racing 92, similar to what he had at the Sharks, and then Racing bought Siya out of that contract from the Sharks and paid a hefty fee. And there was almost this part in the contract where it wasn't going to take place for Siya to move from Racing to the Sharks, but they managed to get it sorted. And I think it's a lot to do with the guy who actually gave him a scholarship to Grey High was willing to help them out with that payment or to release Siya from Racing 92 to the Sharks. And then, I think if we kind of try and look behind the curtain and read between the lines, and you look at these Rugby Championship matches where we beat Australia twice, and now we've just beaten New Zealand twice in a row, 4 times consecutively. South African rugby is in a really, really good spot at the moment. And Siya Kolisi on Saturday in Cape Town was one of the main guys that kind of led the charge there. Rassie Erasmus backed him, even though he had a fractured or broken cheekbone. And Siya obviously knew this was all going down in the background and knew that he had to put in a good performance, even though he has a fractured cheekbone, knowing that this news was probably going to drop after that test match. So if he didn't have a good game against New Zealand, then the narrative might be a little bit different. But because he performed so well against New Zealand, because the Springboks are performing so well, there's nothing but love for Siya Kolisi coming back to South Africa. And I think this might be one of the best moves that the Sharks have done. If you think about who the Sharks have now at the moment, I mean, just in the backline, they got Grant Williams, they got Jordan Hendricks, Siya Masuku, Lukanya Mpimpi, Andre Estes, and they've now got Siya, Earburn, Bongi, Ox, Pepsi Buthelezi, Vincent Chichuka. So there's just that Shark side is almost like it's almost like all the superstars in one team that's really going to try and drive the South African rugby market within the URC and the Champions Cup to winning those trophies. When I spent a little bit of time at the Sharks last week or the week before, I was speaking to them about this URC and Champions Cup, and they want to go and try and do the double. And I do think they have the team to do that. They definitely have the depth to do that. And now with Siya Kolisi there, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to captain the Sharks. But with Siya there, just elevates their brand a little bit more, just elevates how many people are going to be coming into the Shark Tank to watch games and really get behind this team. And it kind of feels like the Sharks could be that South African side that sort of the non-rugby or the casual rugby watchers support because of the team they have built now. So absolutely incredible day to be a South African. Incredible news for Siya Kolisi to be coming back to South Africa. Let me know what you guys think about this move. Siya being back at the Sharks. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.